Hi, everybody.
Hi.
I'm here to address a part of the community in the United States that is probably one of the most oppressed. It's the LGBTQIA community, who has been taught through the years to be ashamed of themselves, to be quiet, and not to stand out, not to shout out, not to demand their rights. I'm here to say that we have to stop that. And I want to tell you a little bit about my story. I was born in a small town in northwest Ohio in 1951. I just turned 25. It was my second birthday. At the age of 5, I would sit outside in the evening searching the sky, desperately looking for the first star so that I could wish on it so it would make me a girl. I was the only one who knew that I was a girl. I couldn't ever tell anyone how I felt. If anyone learned, I could have been ostracized, hospitalized, or even lobotomized, because that's what they did back then. Still, I was bullied. I was called a queer before I even knew what the word meant, shamed and beaten up regularly. I spent my time alone because I didn't fit in anywhere. I tried to make my life for myself as a young person, trying to act like a man, the life that society expected me to fulfill. I joined the Navy during Vietnam. I was a linguist. I speak 4 different languages. I got married, had children, my life falling deeper into despair and hurting the ones that I loved the most, the ones that I brought in with me into this sham of a life that I had. Still, I had no one to talk to. I was alone. I hid my true self in shame. I was convinced that there was no one else in the world that suffered the way that I was. I lived every day wondering how I was just going to find the strength to live to see tomorrow. I fantasized how to end it all and to make it look like an accident, make it look as painless, make it be as painless as possible, but to also somehow make a statement to the world telling them that they were responsible for my suffering. It was them who kept me from living my reality. But I could never find the courage to do it. At the age of 40, I finally hit the bottom of my own personal pit, and I tried to take my own life. I failed. But I did succeed in discovering that my courage wasn't courage at all. It was a silent scream for help, a scream that I shouted, "I've had enough." More importantly, it taught me a lesson. I'd already found others like me. I saw them struggling like I was struggling. Some of them had even found the courage to go forward with their lives, change their lives, and become the person that had been denied them from birth. They were risking their jobs, their friends, their families, everything that they had in their lives. How could they find that much courage? I couldn't. I found the answer to that by the attempt to take my own life. It wasn't courage that I needed at all. It was conviction. It was the conviction that if I didn't go forward, I was going to die. I was just going to quit. I was going to just give up and never feel what every cisgendered person in the world feels, to be a complete person in mind and body, to be able to live as the person I was and not to be afraid anymore. I found my conviction. I found my reason to go on. I found my truth. I didn't want to die. I wanted to know what life felt like, free from the crushing depression I'd lived with as long as I could remember. I wanted to live. I moved forward. I held my head high. I was no longer ashamed. I shed my fear. I proudly stepped into the world and told them, "This is who I am."
Yeah.
I've never looked back again, and I've never felt ashamed again, not once. I never let the world make me feel ashamed again. The world doesn't have that right. More importantly, I never forgot the pain. I never forgot the fear. I never forgot the crushing loneliness of my life before. And I vowed right then and there to do everything I could to help others climb out of their own personal pit. I grew up in a time when being transgender was something unknown. I had nowhere to turn for help. I was not going to let that happen to anybody else if I could help it. Right after I transitioned, I began speaking at colleges and universities to show people that transgender people existed, that we weren't what they saw on Jerry Springer, that we were real people with real problems. I devoted my life to making sure that no transgender person was ever alone again. I wrote a book about my life so I could help. I continued to talk to people so I could help. Last year, I ran to be the first transgender person to ever have a seat in the New Hampshire government so I could help. I made noise so I could help. I didn't win the election, but I didn't lose because I'm transgender. I lost because my district up in the northern part of the state was very badly gerrymandered. But I didn't lose because I was transgendered. It's a great thing. However, it didn't shut me up, especially after Donald Trump was selected by the system to sit in the White House. He made me louder. I was ecstatic when President Obama ordered that transgender people could serve openly in the military. How I wished that that could have been me when I was serving. I was enraged that Trump decided to rescind that order. I was determined that I would no longer just be loud. I knew now I had to shout. I had to make myself heard. I had to scream. And that's what I've been doing. And that's what you need to do. Because if we don't shout, if we don't scream, we lose what rights we have and never get the rights that we deserve. It's estimated that there are about 1 million transgender people in the United States. 1 million. Do you know how much noise we can make if we all shout together? 1 million voices screaming, "We matter!" Do we matter? Do we want our rights as Americans? Do we demand our rights as human beings? Then we all have to shout together. For those of you just starting your own personal voyage, whether you're LGBTQIA, whatever, I know full well what it feels like. I know why you're timid, why you're afraid, and why you're unsure of your own future. But there's no time for that now. The world knows that we exist now. The world is starting to understand the hell that each and every one of us has gone through for our entire lives. Now the world needs to know that we've had enough of living in the shadows. We've had enough of cowering in fear. We've had enough of being made ashamed just to be ourselves. We can't let them walk all over us anymore. We can't let them make us be less than ourselves. We can't let them take away our rights. We can't let them take away our dignity. Now is the time to stand up for yourselves, stand up for your brothers and sisters. Now is the time to find your inner strength, find your courage, get out, vote for people who will work with us and not against us, and find your conviction. Be loud and be proud. Thank you.